to come up with how we're going to fix them. So we finally got the printer to cooperate. The first finding was the internal controls, and the second finding is the maintenance of separation of duties. That one, or both of those, as Shelley stated, all small townships have those because of the way state set up the regulations. We can still go with what they've put because the state accepts that, or if we can think of a way to solve that, but there really isn't a way. And as Shelley stated, it isn't anything anybody's doing, it's the way that the state it has it set up with like the tax account. So only the treasurer and the deputy treasurer maintain that. That is the part that the auditor does audit of the treasurer's records for the township. But the clerk doesn't have any extra in that, so.
So the first box, what do we want it to say?
So the first finding is gonna be the repeat finding. That's number 2021-001. And then the planned corrective action will be the township had an oversight, or currently the township does not have, what's been in there in the past is does not have the funding to implement such a program. We intend to reevaluate once funding becomes available for an additional education and monitoring. It is acceptable, but it's also not, even if we had millions of dollars, we can't change that process because there's certain things set by the state that.
You have to separate people handling cash and oversight.
Correct. And we don't have enough people to.
So, this is the first one.
Yep.
And she's saying take it from this to this.
Yep. So
But you're sure not gonna get all of this.
So you use her boxes and refill them in. So the corrective, the repeat finding, you can put in the 20- whatever.
So the first finding could actually stay the same, but just put Lee Township under the type of unit and.
No, because they're saying that the actual expenditures exceeded the amount authorized by the budget, and we didn't get a finding for that.
Okay, so then we'll have to come up with her finding. Is it okay to put 21-002, or do you have to have verbiage in there? You're not understanding?
I do understand. I'm just thinking, I would put just the criteria line. So.
Okay, so the first, so I'm gonna just put under my findings, I'm just gonna put criteria and then I'll get it off of this.
Yep, and then the establishment and maintenance of internal controls over the financial reporting process.
Criteria of 2021-002 insert. And then, the planned corrective action. We have none.
Right, so that's the highlighted part in the draft.
That was in that box?
Yes.
Okay, so.
And are we keeping it the same, or does anybody have any suggestions for wanting to?
I'm fine with it.
So just out of curiosity, the correction would be hiring a third-party company to oversee it all and oversight this, right? Or hiring an employee. Like, if we had, say, an endless bank account, what would be the correction?
It would, the correction would be to be a bigger township and be able to have more
Either employees or
elected officials that have those duties.
Okay.
So, like, we would need 2 clerks, 2 treasurers,
Why is it even
2
an action?
deputies.
Well, like they do
There's
in
no way to
county,
fix
where
it.
they have
And the
somebody
auditor should know
that's
that.
just taking cash and logging it, and the people that are responsible for it are overseeing that.
So basically, we just need employees.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that takes care of one.
So what date are we putting in there? Today's date?
No, not
Or
the,
the 16th.
not the anticipated completion date.
Well, that's not.
Ongoing. I would put the end of the fiscal year, cause you're gonna have to restart it
Which
in
is
next
March
fiscal year.
31st, 2022.
Correct.
33122. Person responsible,
Who's generally responsible for the
whoa. Getting excited. So my name goes in there, alright,
Alright, so then,
that's the first one.
that's the first box. So then, for number 2, that's the other repeat finding, that's establishment and maintenance of separation of duties over the cash collections and cash disbursements process. What we've had in the past is currently the township does not have the funding to hire additional staff in order to have a separation of duties. Township board intends to become more active in the oversight in the cash collections and each cash disbursement as a compensating control for management. So how we've done that in the past is we've got the numbered receipts, the triple copies.
Alright, I think mine are not in the right order, so I think, let's back up a second, because the first one, I had 2021-002, that's the second one.
That's the second one.
Alright. My pages were not in the right order, so this is 2021-001. And then number 2, I'm going to put the criteria line in the second box down, so I'm gonna insert 2021-002, correct?
Yes, so the criteria from that in the second box down on finding.
Okay,
And you might have to enter another box on your table.
or make it bigger, but, okay, so, and then you want the whole, currently the township does not have the funding into the planned corrective action box, right?
Is that what we're still agreeing upon to leave the first and second one as it has been for years? Do you have any other things to
I don't have
implement
any
or
suggestions.
ideas?
I don't.
Bill, Darla, Lawrence?
How active are deputies on this for the clerk and the treasurer? Like, would giving them more responsibilities or asking them to do an extra step for oversight, would that help clear any of this up?
Actually, Lawrence, I was thinking of that too.
I don't know that it's going to change, like Christy said, because we're too small of a township.
Because even if Bill isn't here, his deputy can sign for him.
Okay.
Same for me,
Bernice or Randy.
air conditioning.
And if Laura's not here, then her deputy can sign.
The only thing that's going to change is when we hit the 5,000 and we have to have a full-time receptionist, like Bill stated, that receptionist can take money in for anything, and then that receptionist can also, that person would be bonded, they would also be able to help
So
me.
basically, we just need to get to 5,000
Yes.
residents, and then you'd have that one person, that would be the cash log, that would kind of be doing.
They would be able to help me, they would be able to help Bill, they would be able to help Christy.
What's our last numbers that we know, like how close are we?
What is it, Mary? You and I just talked about it. Was it 32, 34?
I believe it's 34.
Oh, so we're still a ways away.
34, almost
Yeah.
35.
Alright.
So not too far.
Well, with how roll we are, it's probably a ways still.
No, not according to, I mean, Sandy just sent out not that many, but probably at least another 50, so it could have increased since, Monday, because she just did the incoming and I know it was at least 30 more, so I don't think it's going to take that much longer. I almost anticipate in the year, just, this is my feelings, but I anticipate next year that we will hit 5,000 in the calendar year 2022.
Cool.
Okay.
But does anything stop you guys from getting somebody before you get 5,000?
I don't think legally we can. Or financially.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't think financially we can.
Right.
Legally,
Does,
I don't think we
Would
can
make a
hire,
difference.
we
I
can
think
make a
the
position for
average,
anything.
the average receptionist salary is like 35 to 40, isn't it? Somewhere in there for a full-time receptionist and secretary? Isn't that like the average wage?
You know, and then, I mean, if we are considering it seriously, it could even be someone part-time. You know, so food for thought at this next budget time.
Alright, so are we leaving this one?
I think so, I don't see any reason to change it.
21 to,
Yeah, those are the two.
okay.
So we're gonna insert exactly
What shall
and then, the same date for that,
Yeah, I think the same date could be for all of them,
okay.
assuming that this is September.
Oh, we have to have a quick question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, 03. So the criteria is establishment and maintenance of internal controls over the bank reconciliation process. The township, what Shelley had highlighted for, that we have to discuss is the highlighted. The township will work to establish a monthly process for bank reconciliations.
It's just been 2 really weird years. It really has, I mean,
Yeah, but that's not a corrective action plan.
well, I know that, I'm just saying that, so. So number 3 would be 20, 21, 003, the criteria. Okay, and then, insert that. I know, I'm sure I'll get a letter, and just like last year, I answered it, and I'll answer it if and when it does come, because it is my responsibility, but when Jessica left us, it left everything in a lurch, and I'm almost done. So, once I get it done, I'm, having somebody that does bank recs all the time, an accountant, come and help me, and Shelley suggested that, so let me see how it works.
Okay, so are they gonna be paid by the township? Are they bonded, or do they have to be?
They're not touching the
Is that-
money, no, they're not touching the money to do,
Are they doing the entering though?
No.
Or are they,
they're
okay,
gonna sit beside me. I'm
Okay.
doing it. They're just going to guide me and give me, better ways of doing it.
okay, and who will this person be?
I don't know if I wanna say yet, I'll let you know later, cause I don't wanna put that person on the spot.
Okay.
Are we going to hire somebody to take care of some things like we were discussing once before? In order to handle some of these, like the bank recs and the 941s, those are, I think, monthly deals, right?
Yeah, and I don't know where Shelley's coming up because they have all been done on time.
Well, I'm
Well,
just
the
saying.
last receipt in our packet was like for $2 and some cents for quarter
That's
one.
because actually, I really did, forget to pay, and it wasn't that, I don't remember what it was, I forgot to pay one, I got a notice, and that's the only one that I have forgotten to pay. And I paid it, cause they sent a notice, so I went on the bank and I paid it, and then the next day, it was, the $2 was interest.
Yeah,
So, but that's, everything has been done, and yes, I think it was Pam from Wylander, Fitzhugh had given me a different area in, the BSNA that I've never been in, where I can print out a monthly, statement that shows it is correct. So,
Okay.
so that should help out too.
So along with 5, 3 and 5 kind of go together, and like Shelley suggested, the cash receipting module of BSNA. So then it would still be your bank recs would be the separate segregation of duties to verify that the entries were correct. But as Bill's getting them, he would enter them into the cash receipting. The cash receipting would flow into
Right,
yours.
and then I
And that would
pay it right away.
alleviate your entering and the miss, whatever she called it. Do we wanna look into implementing that and looking into getting, possibly like a technology grant? I know that was one of Lawrence's, big things that we haven't done anything with, is the technology plan.
I have no idea how much it would cost, because I know, Bill, can you yours is, for the treasurers, at least $2,000 plus a year for a year BSNA? I think.
My tax one is 500 and some, and the other one's about 650, something like that.
For some reason, I was thinking it was more than
That
that, but
was
maybe
the
it's.
special assessment and the tax database
And
system.
then Jeanette has one, and then I've got payroll,
But
general.
I think we have to have the,
You have to have a server.
have to have a server here in order to do it. In order to accomplish that, we can check and see what Jerome's using, because that's exactly where we would want to go. Their stuff is tied together back through the general ledger, including the tax stuff. And
Say
they're running
that
off of
again?
a local server.
Say that again, Bill? Or
Everything's tied back into that general ledger, including my tax
The
database. It would
taxes.
come back into the general ledger. Anytime I make a deposit, it would fall over there, and write a check, it would fall over there.
Okay,
So that it would be, instead of me giving you a receipt to enter it,
okay.
it does
It does it all,
Right,
when you
because
enter it
it's-
into
it's
it, it's
on a-
automatic,
server that's sitting in their office.
shareable.
Yeah. It's
So you
kinda
would
like,
still
you know,
get
using
the-
the cloud, only it's a
Mhm.
box that sits in the office.
Okay.
So you would still get the paper documents to hold the official record, so that when you do the bank reconciliation, you have them to go through to verify that you still have everything, but it would alleviate the entering of it.
Because it's done on
Right.
front.
Well, right now,
Exactly.
for example, I'm using Quicken to do mine,
Which
and I
doesn't
wouldn't have
match.
to because I can just do a dump off general ledger
Right.
and compare that to the bank recs and have to close it.
Which I think if and when there is a new treasurer, it would flow better to be able to have everybody have the, or not everybody, but
Right, so.
be able to work together.
I can, call them tomorrow and find out how much that software is, and what was it called? I forgot what she said.
Cash receipting.
Cash receipting.
It's not just software, like.
I know.
And I think with what Christy said about us trying to have a special meeting every month or every other month, that's probably something that we should put on docket for a special meeting, is going over a technology plan as well as a maintenance plan for the facilities, and figure out how much it would truly cost to kind of make this space a smart space, especially for you two, so that once you do something, there's not a 4-step or whatever step process. If you guys can just do something and it instantly shows up, there's no emailing, there's no texting as much. If it's only emailing to say, hey, did you do this number right? It looks odd. Instead of constantly trying to pass information back and forth.
Right.
Well, I still wanna find out how much BSNA charges for
Well, and I
it.
think
Good
that
idea.
can be part of our plan, is to say that we are going to look into implementing the cash receipting module.
And local server.
In
And local
number,
server.
in number 3,
So that would be 3 and 5. I
3
think, right?
and
3
5.
and 5.
The same date?
Okay, you know what that
So
is?
are we gonna plan to implement that then, what we're looking at, or how would we reply to this?
So I think it's,
This is for next year.
that's, I think, would be a part of it,
Yeah.
that we would look into.
Should you go in and look at it as a local
I think if we put in, what she's got down here, and then also say, we're looking into,
But what I'm trying to get at though is we need to work to establish that
Hey, we got one meeting over here,
The-
can't hear everybody.
like, what are we going to, how are you and Bill gonna work together to make sure
Well,
that
that's what I
this gets done?
I said in here, also insert, we're reviewing or looking into, I'll come up with some words, or you give me words that you want, the cash receiving through BSNA.
Right, but
Looking
that's not gonna make your
Yes, it will.
bank reconciliations happen. I mean, we're gonna look into that to help improve that to happen.
Right.
But what is the monthly process for that to happen?
Would it be a good idea to set a date that bill stuff has to be in by, if it's like, say, the end of the month, that her bank recs have to be done by a certain month? Set how many weeks out after a month does your bank recs have to be done?
45 days.
So if it's 45 days, how many days do you need to do a bank rec? Like, would 15 days be efficient to get information? 20 days?
Mine are done before the board meeting, typically now that we have electronic access to it, instead of having it mailed to us. My bank recs are done before the board meeting, and that treasurer's report is based on it.
Okay.
And generally mine were before all of the mutual. Because
Well, we have to enforce that somehow, and tell them we're going to do something to make sure that that happens. I don't
do
know.
what they said last night, you can take me outside and beat me if you want. but-
20 lashes, you don't make it.
I was only taking Bill outside last night to beat him.
I said she would do
Yeah,
that
that was
too.
neither of them, okay.
So I don't know.
Um,
There's not really any words you can put into place, it needs to be done, so.
Would that be suitable then, just to say that we're gonna look into implementing the cash receipting and all local servers to tie those, jobs?
So
together?
things can happen in a quicker fashion,
yeah,
so.
and if Shelley says that it's not
If we can't afford
acceptable
it, then
in
we
the
can
state.
put, yeah.
That's fine, because I can do this tomorrow and send it to her, and if she wants changes, then she'll be.
Then we've got a time to,
Okay, so we'll give that a try.
Okay, so that goes on both 3 and 5.
You're gonna look into the cost of the
Yeah.
software, so your needs
Yeah.
on that part. I'll look into the cost of the server and find out how Jerome set up.
So
So
do
we
you
get a
want,
relative cost of initial, and I assume there's a monthly fee because IT rate maintains their server in-house.
so do you want your name and my name both
Sure.
on
Sure.
the
If
3?
you're gonna pursue the cash receiving software,
Yeah.
right, yeah. I'll get the hardware set up.
Alright.
Did you guys do anything about server stuff? With the technology thing?
I started looking into the server stuff, and there's a lot of different things out there.
Can we use it for that though?
Well, server space is server space. They're like Microsoft has their big high-end package for a corporation or enterprise has server space. I don't know
But
how it would work.
That wouldn't be internal though, that would be the cloud.
Well, that's depending on how you want it, because even if you have a server in this building hooked to the internet, your data's only so safe because it's still
Well,
hooked up
right,
to your.
but the BSNA can't run off of that cloud.
It might be able to cycle through it to where if that's your like, have you guys, everybody worked in a workplace where you had a server, right? When you go through and you have that server option in your files, that server may not be on site. That server may be in Delaware or
BSNA has to have it.
an in-site
That's
server.
what I understand,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so that would just be working with whatever local company to come in and put a server tower in.
Did you get any of the estimates, or did we get that far with it? I don't.
I didn't know that BSNA needed an in-house one. I was looking at
We'll
companies that
clarify.
did server hosting at rather cheap prices.
I'll ask them if they need it in-house when I call tomorrow.
I'll find out what Jerome has, we'll try to mimic theirs for the pricing and the functions and
And then get
maintenance.
some other,
Yeah.
They're already operational, they have, we can use them as trainers, you know.
Oh, absolutely. That's the best way to go, is if somebody has something that's
And-
working.
They have the maintenance for those people coming in to do it on site, so it's like next door.
And that's why I was looking at like, Google offers something like that as well as Microsoft. That's why I was looking that way, because when you have a agreement with one of those large companies, if there's a problem with your, server or something's not working right, it's not up to us to go fix it. You call your contract person and you say, hey, our server's down, fix it.
Yep.
so for the monthly quarterly process for payroll tax findings, do you guys separate those,
What do you
or
mean?
is it just you?
What do you mean separate?
Well, it wasn't one time, she
No, I've
created
always
the
done that.
941 form, and I actually went into the bank and actually did the transfer. But when they switched to
So how
treasurer,
about?
she didn't know how to do that, so Laura did the whole thing.
So how about, before I file it and pay it, I'll send you a copy and you can check it against your records, and I'll put it on my calendar every, whatever day, a week before it's due.
We could go back the way before the other treasurers then, if you give me, we can get my access back up on that. Like you were writing the
But I think
941
you would
form.
still have that. I don't think that
Well, I
was,
couldn't access it, that's why I said you're gonna have to do it, cause I couldn't get it. So whatever it takes to get one of us back online, so we're both involved in it, you again can write the 941 form out. Like we do for the payroll transfers at the same time, because I just do the whole transfer all in one shot. When I transfer the
Well,
funds,
yeah, as
I
long
go
as it
through the
gets-
941 and send you back the confirmation,
So-
and it's a closed loop then.
Because those are the ACH forms that we get with the
yes.
stuff.
There's a stack.
So how everything else, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just trying to work through the process so everybody knows. So you create the warrant, then you send it to Bill,
Yep.
or the treasurer, whoever that is.
Right.
Once he creates a check for it or submits the ACH, it's now a check, it's a payment.
Right.
Mhm.
And you get a confirmation number.
And that is the segregation of duties that helps the checks and balances to make sure.
Right.
So
But it's
what
the-
if Bill, tell me if it's not legal, but what if Bill, since you have the access, what if Bill creates the ACH paper, can he create the
No,
warrant?
because it's in the general ledger.
Right.
And
It has to
he
come off
doesn't
that
have
general ledger,
access
she
to
makes
that.
entries there, that creates the form.
But what if that paper, I'm not talking about the general ledger, I'm talking the paper, so this is due on the 15th. So on the 10th of the month, you give that paper to Laura via email with the board copied so that we know you're really doing it. And it reminds Laura to pay it and that this is the amount, which would be the same as Laura giving you.
That means she has to give me the information, I create the paper, give it back to her to do, that's double the duties compared to what we have now. If we separate it such that when I do all those other transfers, I also do the EFTs from the federal and the state at the same time.
Would it be
It'll all in one
easier, okay, I'm thinking in these terms. When I do the payroll, I already know what it's gonna be, and so do you,
chunk.
because,
When you give me the data, yep.
yes. So at that point,
You're done, once
you already have the information.
yep, I just gotta get access to the
Okay,
EFT
so
account.
I can, but if you could, that doesn't make sense
Well,
to me.
what, working on.
If you can do payroll and you can do the other, I
It's
don't,
a different system, it's federal, and the other one's state MTO.
okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm thinking the
I lost my access
bank,
when they took me
yes,
off
I
of it.
was thinking the bank, now I
Yep,
understand
yep.
what you're,
If I get those reinstated, then I can take that whole ball of wax in one shot, and you're done,
Okay.
and hand it to me.
that's fine.
So you don't have to, did I do that? No, you don't care.
Does that work? Are you,
Oh, yeah, because that's how it was before Jessica.
Yeah,
Right.
And we didn't have any complaints on it at that point.
right,
So as long as
And that
it's,
takes something else
yes.
off your plate that,
Well, she gets it all put together and it's all done in one shot. She
Right.
doesn't have to piecemeal it and forget about it.
So, yeah, that's fine.
I got a thought. Because it seems like probably every 4 years moving forward, we're gonna have multiple fractions, it seems like. Is there anything that the treasurer and clerk can do together that's like the key hardcore, that's difficult to go through the process to clear it? Would it be smart to try to have a Saturday workshop to where we come up with a procedure packet to where it's a binder that whoever comes in eventually, because we're all not gonna be on this board forever. That's, 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, however long people are on this board for. Would it be smart to put some kind of policy binder together or procedure binder to where if they need to do payroll, they can pull the binder down, open it to payroll, and it gives a 1 through 10 step and how to do it. So whoever comes behind us eventually has the ability to kind of pick up behind you guys and we'll take off running. I know it's hard work at first because it'd be that initial putting it together, but it might be a smart idea to leave it for the people behind us as far as the paperwork, because then there's a how-to.
Not as far as the clerk and all of it, because I could call BSNA and I could say, give me your step-by-step guide as a new clerk. I could say, hey, I don't know how to do this, and that's where I feel that it's important. Every new person, when they are elected, need to take whatever their position is. They need to take that training through MTA. They need to take that training through BSNA. I've been to BSNA a couple of times for trainings. When I first was elected, BSNA, what we have?
like 2 days of training when they came in.
2-day training where
But
we had,
BSNA does have a great program where you
Yes.
can call them and they will, they get back with you sometimes within like
oh,
2 minutes.
yes, sometimes it's immediate, other times, it's
You gotta wait a
5,
little
10
bit,
minutes, whatever, but.
Okay, so there are resources for.
Yes, because today, when I was cutting checks, the printer in my room, okay, it comes to the time, do you wanna cut the checks? Well, yes, I wanna cut the checks. So I put the checks in my printer and I hit print, and then after they all print, it says, did they all print correctly? Well, today, no, they didn't, because the last 2 checks went through, the second to the last one printed right, but Bill's was on the last one. It printed on a plain piece of paper. So then I said, no, they didn't print correctly, so I reinserted the one that didn't. It asked me which one, so I put the number in. So what's it do? Prints offset. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So then it said, did all checks print correctly? No. And then it was like, it closed that out, so it didn't let me deal with the rest of them right then. I had to go and void bills and get the next check from stock, and then it did correctly, but it only gave me the paperwork on bills. So I had put a call into them before, because I've never had that happen, where it took, did that. And they didn't call, and I thought, this cannot be hard. So I had figured it out, I had gotten his printed, but the original first checks didn't journalize. So I was glad she had called me. I said, I got it figured out, and I said, but maybe we need to walk through it to make sure I did everything correctly. So I told her what I did, and she said, yes, you did, but I have one question. Do you have outstanding checks? Does it say in the, and I said, yes, it says in that box. So she said, click on the outstanding checks. It brought it up. I was able to then finish the original checks. So that's why in Bill's packet today, his is totally separate.
Their help desk is very good.
Yes.
I was just, cause that was my major concern, cause sometimes when software companies, once they sell it to you, they say you're on your own.
No,
That sounds like they're
we have
awesome.
unlimited with them when we buy and pay each year, it's unlimited, so they're
Okay,
unlimited.
perfect.
So, and that would be on all the software, the assessors, the treasurers and the clerks, all of it.
Okay, so for 12-4, the process, you're gonna revert it to the olden days?
Well, I don't know that that's what we need to say in here, but
Well,
I
I think it will. I think they would understand the olden days,
I
what you're gonna do.
I think we would write the criteria and then I think we can say something such as the clerk and the treasurer will work more closely.
To ensure monthly payment.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's reasonable.
Is everybody good with that?
We need to try to figure out some way to test that, so I make sure I get it
Yes,
operational
yeah.
before the thing comes up.
Mhm.
Because we also have a bank thing coming up here shortly that I'm hoping will go smoothly, so we can't.
Oh, the new, it's a
In
new,
October.
yeah, new bank, and then.
So we need to have our ducks in a row before then.
Am I gonna have to order new checks?
They told us not, but be
Okay.
aware.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna enter the criteria here, but I'm also gonna put, what we just said, the clerk and the treasurer will work more closely to assure
Monthly
things,
payment.
monthly, payments are done
Yep.
on time. And then any date,
End of the year. I think that could be it for
Yeah,
all.
we'll have it resolved by the next audit.
and then both of us again, Bill?
Yeah.
All right.
So then to finish off by, during the course of the audit, we identified numerous misstatements, some of which were material to the financial statements, and provided audit entries to correct these misstatements. Material audit adjustments were required for most balance sheet accounts, including cash accounts, payable, liability accounts, and accrued expenses. The highlighted part that we need to work on, along with looking into the server and cash accounting, the clerk will review entries more closely to decrease auditor involvement.
That's why I was suggesting that we look at getting a CPA or at least a bookkeeper level to do our year-end closeout with the clerk, so that all that due to and due to from junk is ready for the audit. And that way we can operate on cash, which most people can balance a checkbook, that's all we need to know. Let them take care of where this stuff's
I
supposed to
think
go.
she's saying this because I reamed her because she was trying to ream me,
So
and it
she-
wasn't,
she-
no,
No, she's the auditor, she can't,
no.
really shouldn't help you.
I know that, but it was messed up because of when the bank, Jessica wasn't on the bank yet, so we called it in and we did it over the phone. It was supposed to go from here to here and here to here. It went from here to here and here to here, and it totally did not get corrected.
Have we thought about too, looking at for next year, putting a bid out for, or getting bids for the audit, changing up auditors?
Yes, I have
We need to
thought
do
about
And
that.
then,
I think it's
because
time.
Shelley is familiar with our system, we could then use her as a CPA for the questions, or when we learn to whoever take or.
She'd have better knowledge of, get us smoothed out.
Right.
Because generally, and I believe we did put it in policy, which it had been in,
Yeah,
Previous.
because they've been our auditor since before I
yeah, they
came
have
on board.
forever. So, that's something to think about, I mean, it's
Put
not
some
gonna help
verbiage in
this,
there
but,
for that kind of thing, that we're gonna pursue, getting, a separate CPA rated person or
Under
something.
which
for
one,
year
Bill?
closeout.
yeah,
For the number 5 you were talking about, wasn't it?
yeah. So along with the,
Minimize the audit involvement.
So say what you said again, Nora.
need to look into having a bookkeeping or CPA person to assist with the year-end closeout so that we can operate on a cash basis. They can make it yellow book acceptable with the do from stuff.
Okay.
Maybe let's get a cost on that and look into it quarterly.
Well, we can see what costs are and see what they think would be a good point. They may want to start out real heavy initially until they get things smoothed out and get comfortable with how we work and how they work. And then they can, stretch it out as it's needed.
Okay.
Because up
Well, I
front,
think
it'll
that
be a
with
lot of
all-
learning experience to get things, how we should do it so they can handle it.
Well, I think it'd be good too, because if Laura's got somebody that she's gonna be working with, whatever basis, daily, whatever, if we did quarterly or end of the year, then that's more eyes to
At
help make
least in
sure
the
to,
year would be good.
yeah.
Yeah, because like I was telling you yesterday, at the meeting on the attorney's stuff, because I didn't really look at it and realize it didn't click to me that he wasn't giving us the separate, breakdown, because, I think it was 2 months ago, there actually was solid waste stuff and all of that really should come from solid waste. It shouldn't come from general because it was attorney's fees on solid waste. But now that it's entered and it's all entered under general, it has to stay there until audit time. So what I've done is I stapled a sticky note to that attorney's bill or statement, whatever you want to say, saying that it needs broken down. So that's in the email to you today is why I said from March until now we need that. So when I get the breakdown, I can then attach that to that statement. So when they come in to do the audit for this current year, they're gonna see that, she'll give me a journal
Where would you,
entry.
and I mean, this is way off of what we need to accomplish, but where would you put that then in fire or solid waste or water? Cause there's no jail for that.
Suggestion? Why don't we leave all of the legal fees charged straight through general as a single bill? The topic, the legal question that we're pursuing is for the board's information. It's not solid waste or fire. It's for our information, how we can do things correctly.
It is, but the topic is due
Right.
to,
It's our question though, still, it makes the board's action legal. It's not for fire's benefit, really.
I don't know.
There's still
Otherwise,
some other
they
towns,
would
some
be
other
applied
townships,
legally.
or MTA.
It might be a question
I mean, I
for
asked-
legal.
I was gonna call him Gary. Oh, that's his name, Greg, Gary. I asked him, he said he would. So.
I just
Okay.
feel it should, if it's pertaining to solid waste, and if we don't have it this year, and that's how it should be done, then when it comes budget amendment time, we'll have to put money in there. I
Right.
just feel that it
Right.
should be segregated into whatever department we're asking questions on.
Okay, well, let's do some more
Again, that's a question we need to
look,
have
but
answered
he is
before
breaking
then.
it down.
Yep.
So, anything else that anybody wants to add for 5?
I
Or things
have
that help?
to add another box for Sarah.
Feed.
So 6 is establishment and maintenance of internal controls over property tax disbursements. The township will work to establish bi-monthly process for property tax distributions. So this was, during the new treasurer in November 2020, the property tax disbursements were untimely and not in compliance with the state of Michigan and General Property Tax Act.
That should have been taken care of when she interacted with the county. I don't know why they didn't do her up that she wasn't getting stuff turned in.
I don't know, I
I mean,
point going forward is now, this is on you,
I
you
understand.
need to fix it.
It does, yeah, it is what it is.
I don't know how to fix it,
I'm just saying, I don't know if the board would have any action that could fix it because
Good night.
cause it's county and
between
it's state.
treasurer and county treasurer,
Yeah,
I don't know what the board can do.
that's what I mean, I don't, cause those are state,
Well, you can't make the
Mandated.
treasurer do the job correctly.
well,
So whether
right,
you know it or not, wouldn't make any difference, as far as the board is concerned. But county can step in if they want to because you're not doing the job correctly. They can actually take it over and charge us for it.
But we can also say in that corrective action, it's a one-time event. We had a newly elected treasurer resign within 2 months.
Right?
You can put that. So, and I mean,
Unless there's something else the board wants to
right,
try to do to monitor that.
I
Again,
don't-
the only solution you have is go back to county to have them come back and enforce it.
yeah, and that's not,
Not
I don't
doing
think it's necessary.
no,
I mean, are you good with me saying that? I mean, that's what happened. It's not being disrespectful to
No.
anybody, it's what happened.
right,
Well, let's put that verbiage down and see what the auditor, if that's acceptable
Okay.
as a solution.
So I will work on this tomorrow and I'll send it out to all of you first before I send it to Shelley then, so
Okay.
look for it tomorrow and, reply back to me as soon as you can.
So the only thought I have, which I don't think would work moving forward, regardless of who the treasurer is, would it help if an email got sent out saying tax distribution happened, blah, blah, blah? And if the whole board knows the schedule beforehand, so before tax season, if everybody got emailed the dates that money's supposed to get shipped out, and if we don't get the email on that date, we could always send a quick email to whoever the treasurer is, or future boards or whatever, and say, hey, did you do the paperwork for today? Did you forget, or would that work, or is that too much?
I don't see how the board would have any,
Just as a reminder, I guess.
well, again, the county has people that are actually, they're not elected, they're actually hired in as workers.
Okay, and
They
they're on.
should have come back and said, you know, you're not getting this done, and pull it if that's what it takes to fix it.
Okay, so normally that's what happens?
Right?
Okay,
Because we're collecting taxes for them.
yeah,
I mean, we have some of ours in there, but we're doing their job.
okay, I just was curious if that would help, or if that wouldn't, so.
We can, you know, make sure the board has reports monthly on it, but I don't, like I said, I don't know what,
There's not much else we can do, but.
Right.
Okay,
I think go with what I had said and,
Right. a new person's gonna need to get more training from.
right, and
from
that was the
county.
key. Mary and I had talked the other day and I said, you know, Jessica never took that beginner's training and I'm not being disrespectful
Right.
to her. She did not.
You have
And
time.
no, the well, and I kinda had a feeling that it was gonna happen because she was always in a rush when she came to me. And whoever, you know, if Bill decides to run again this next year or he doesn't, and somebody else does, whoever is in the treasurer's position and the clerk's position need to be able to communicate and say, you know, if I'm doing something that is making Bill upset, then Bill needs to be a big enough person and say, you know, get off your rock and, let's communicate, and I the same, so.
now you need to not work 60, 70 hours a week and have really small children. 'Cause
Yes.
Not a good thing.
family comes first,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
I don't blame her one bit, but.
No, I don't
family-
either.
I'm just saying, she had to turn.
All right,
It's a steep learning curve coming into it.
Yep, it
Code
is.
authority, Tom Smith, who works for them as an auditor. There's a discrepancy in the fund, came in and talked to the group one morning for an hour and a half. I would like us to consider talking
Darla, I didn't hear your first part.
I'm sorry. Code Authority has their audit done by Tom Smith, the other guy's name I can't even pronounce, starts with a K, Class B or Class V or something like that. Anyway, we had a discrepancy over some funds in the Code Authority, and he came in and talked to the group, not all of us, but some of us, for an hour and a half and did not charge us. He's very down to earth, very plain, very to the point. I think that we need to call him and check with him and see what some of his fees are to help us get this pulled together.
And there's
Or as our auditor, one of the two.
it's a good idea, but I also know that we do have very qualified CPA people in our township that we might be able to pull on, that they may do it because it's their township.
Certainly.
That's great.
So,
Not for free.
Take all the help we can get.
so. Miss Mary.
Alright, any comment on the
They want everything for free.
So-
Alright, so, you guys have any more input on that? Do we wanna make a motion to accept it as presented, and Laura will type it up and send it to us and Shelley?
If you want, we can, we never have before, but that's fine if we
Do we just
that.
wanna,
Well, if you should make the motion that, she's gonna have that written up by tomorrow, and the board needs to respond, yes or no. Any other ideas that they have a problem with it, before we turn it over to the auditor, right?
well, we can't make decisions in an email, so it has to be,
Well, I mean, in terms of her, okay, go ahead,
I don't know.
I think you,
Then we
you
just agree
don't
on-
reply all, just reply back to me if you don't agree.
for omissions and errors.
Yes, just let me know, and then I can send it, I can correct it, if somebody says, this would look better this way, or whatever. I mean, just reply to me, and if I change it, I'll send it back out to everybody.
So we could make a motion that we will use these as our reply to the auditor.
Okay, wanna make it?
All right, I'll make that motion that we accept those,
I'll support.
ideas that we're gonna reply to the auditor for these, cases,
Corrective action plan.
findings.
Do you say I support or no?
Yes.
Alright.
That way we have board action saying we're gonna take these.
Okay, so Bill made the motion to accept the corrective action plans ideas as, we discussed, and it was seconded by Lawrence.
Perfect.
Great, go ahead and take roll.
All right, Bill,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Darla,
Yes.
I will say yes, and Lawrence.
Yes.
Alright, motion carried. Thanks for a great conversation, guys.
Yeah.
Public comment?
You in the back.
David, with the server option that Jerome has, do they also store some of their township documents on there? I don't know if they do or not, curious if they did or not. Okay, cool.
Any digital record keeping would be on that server, as well as I believe that's also backed up down to Lansing.
Mary?
Something has troubled me since, Bill came back, and one of them is that, the knowledge he had, you say, you totally agree with him, but you said he doesn't have to give help to Jessica. And it's okay.
All she had.
Is it okay? I mean, your knowledge came from the township.
I offered.
17 years,
I offered.
I don't believe you, Bill.
Well, then, don't ask.
No, I'm just saying, I can express my opinion.
You are entitled to your opinion.
And I've been in a similar situation.
Sorry.
I've been in a similar situation where I was bumped out of a job that paid over 6 figures. But the difference is, the guy came and asked me for help, he told me he was gonna buck me out of the job, and I appreciated that. And I told him, because I helped him for a year and a half, and I told him, Dow paid for my knowledge, not me. For the good of the township, you should have helped Jessica.
Alright, any other public comment? Alright, motion to adjourn.
Alright,
Second.
what time is it? 9:01.
9:03.
And Christie made the motion to adjourn, Bill seconded.
Right.
Yep, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So,
Same sign.
would you, Christie, please come to the office? I want, and I'm sure you got it, but I want